let's talk about units. If we go over to the large red letter A, click on it, and go down to Drawing Utilities and select Units, a pop-up menu will appear, and we'll notice that the default is set to decimal. Every type of drawing we work with is going to have different types of units. Again, the default for this is decimal, but it can be selected to be architectural, and where the units are feet and fractional inches. It can be set to engineering, which is decimal inches, and it can be set to fractional, which is feet and fractions of an inch. And then there's scientific, and that's to the power of. It's very precise, going to very high precision. Won't be working with that too often. You're going to be working predominantly with some fractional, mostly decimal, and sometimes architectural. Next, let's talk about the precision. Within decimal, we notice that we can go to, by default, it's 4 decimal places. So it's actually measuring to the 10th of a thousandth. And if you notice this 10th, that's 4 decimal places is 1/10 of 3 decimal places. And then there's decimal inch and architectural. In architectural, you're measuring in feet and fractions of an inch. Highly precise architectural drawings will be 1/32 of an inch. Typically, you're going to see mostly 1/8 of an inch. We also have the angle measurement. Most of what we'll be working with will be decimal degrees. That means it's just going to be, a 1/10 or 100th of a degree. But there are other measurements, and if you remember back from geometry, there's degree, minutes, and seconds, 360 degrees in a circle, and then there's gradients and radians, grads and radians, and we won't be working with those too often. For the most part, you'll be working with decimal degrees. Here you set the precision for the decimal degrees, and we'll just go to 2 decimal places. So, like for instance, we could have 35.55 degrees. Most measurements are measured in angles. They're measured in counterclockwise. This option right here, if you click it, allows you to measure actually in clockwise, which would be unusual. So let's leave that in counterclockwise. Here is a feature that allows you to determine what the import of another drawing will be and how to handle it. That's really outside the scope of what we'll be working with, so let's just leave it at inches for right now. And let's work in decimal for right now as well. And units of measurement, you know what, 1/1000th is more than accurate enough for us. All right, so now we have our units set up. So let's put it all together. If we're working on a house, it's more than likely we're going to be working in feet and inches and fractions of an inch. And I can tell that by looking at this drawing and clicking on the properties for the roof line. And I see that it's 12 feet, 4 inches, and a half inch. So 12 feet, 4.5 inches. But if I go look at a more mechanical type of drawing, like this part, and I click on the properties for this, it's 1.5000. Whether those are inches or centimeters, we really don't know until we actually look at this drawing and do what we did before and just look at drawing utilities, units, and we see that it is measuring it, in fact, in decimal inches. Just keep in mind that we'll be working with mainly 2 different types of units, decimal inch and feet and inches. When we're working with parts, mechanical parts, it would be machining or fabricating, that's going to be mainly in decimal inch. And when working with architectural, you're going to be working feet and inches and fraction of an inch. In accuracy, then 1/8 of an inch. So that's units.